Okay, hi everyone. My name is Mac Robinson, and I'll be talking to you today about increasing the influenza vaccination rate in Hartford, Connecticut. So let's start off first with what influenza is. Influenza is a virus that contains many harmful symptoms, some of which include sweating, high fever, cough, headache, sore throat, and in the worst case scenarios, when it's not caught early or when the symptoms get too bad and untreatable, they can cause death. Across the world, there's over 250,000 deaths yearly attributed to influenza. The benefits of getting vaccinated against influenza are that it can combat the contraction and the spreading of influenza. The vaccination is widely available, and annually they come out with new vaccinations that attack the different strains of influenza that occur across the globe. So annual vaccination is a necessity as well. Despite the readily availability of these vaccines and their relatively low cost, oftentimes at no cost to an insured patient, a lot of people choose to or do not know about the vaccine, and therefore influenza still has a high prevalence rate. So more about Hartford, Connecticut, and just some background statistics. Hartford, Connecticut is dubbed the insurance capital of the world. Being a city like this, there's obviously a lot of people in a congested area, oftentimes in large skyscrapers and close-to-close contact, which helps spread influenza from one infected individual to another. There's roughly 123,000 people living in Hartford. That's not including the daily commuters that work there, which are a lot more. And the median household income is about almost $34,000 a year, which compared to the rest of Connecticut is less than half. It's largely undercompensated and most definitely an urban population. So some influenza vaccination disparities. There's various explanations and reasons as to why people either choose to or just do not receive the vaccine annually or consistently. Most of these disparities are found in low socioeconomic communities, which can be most attributed to either uninsured patients, which results in a high vaccination cost, the lack of availability in particular areas, there's not enough vaccines, or there's not enough healthcare professionals to administer the vaccines, and a large disparity is that there's a gap in education regarding influenza and influenza vaccination facts. A lot of people are either wrongly informed about vaccinations and their cons, or just don't know about the benefits of becoming vaccinated. So 2 journal articles that I have found that support the lack of education and the disparity that goes along with that with influenza vaccination are presented here. Both of these articles will be referenced later on if you'd like to look further into them. Long story short, there's 2 very different populations tested here, and an intervention is used in each regarding the education around influenza vaccinations, one in Greece in pregnant women, and the other in a quote-unquote hard-to-reach population, which is actually in New York City. And both interventions increased education in different ways and were very successful in increasing the influenza vaccination rate. So that being said, my proposed intervention on Hartford is based around education, and I believe that increasing the education in various ways will result in a decrease in the influenza prevalence rate, and alongside that, increase the influenza vaccination rate. By doing this, I've chosen the theory of planned behavior as the most relevant towards this cause. The theory of planned behavior connects an individual's beliefs and behaviors. The theory of planned behavior is based on the premise that an individual's intentions and actions are a result of the person's outlooks and feeling towards the behavior. the subjective norms and their social influences from their friends and family, and perceived behavior control. Do they feel like they can control the situation? And if so, they're more likely to act. So I've charted here the theory of planned behavior and how I intend to intervene on the vaccination disparity in Hartford, Connecticut. A lot of I've already touched upon, the main goal being that community partners and individuals describe an environment supportive and consistent for annual influenza vaccinations. Basically, they have a full understanding, full knowledge base behind influenza vaccination now and are more likely to go receive one. I'd like to increase the accessibility and availability and educate people on those locations, times, and when's the best time to go get vaccinated. The physical structures in which the vaccinations will occur and which these education courses will be held to inform the public, which include large venues such as hospitals, schools, convention halls, places where people are congregated a lot. Hopefully this will generate some buzz in the social structures, community partners. It'll get people talking, get people correctly educated on the facts behind influenza vaccination. And a large part of that today is the media. So what we see on TV, the radio, and even the computers that we have in our pockets all the time in the form of smartphones and cell phones. Which brings me to my next point of the technological intervention. So through my research, I was able to spot this Carrot Rewards app, it's called. It's based out of British Columbia, and more or less it is an app that holds quizzes and seminars to educate the users on influenza, not only influenza, but in this case it's focused on influenza vaccination benefits, the correct statistics that go along with it. And because it's in our phones, which are in our pockets all the time, it has GPS capabilities, and it also has rewards availabilities for when you actually do complete these quizzes and get properly informed, and then even receive vaccinations. So that kind of incentive would have a lot of drive behind the millennials and the general population which has a cell phone nowadays. So in order to evaluate this intervention, a simple and effective monitoring system could be put into place that observes the current vaccination rate within the city, and obviously over time we'd like to see that we'd like to see the vaccination rate increase, which would in turn cause the influenza infection rate to decrease over time. So in conclusion, my final recommendation is to increase the number of vaccinated individuals and increase the protection of Hartford, Connecticut against the influenza virus by implementing and increasing the educational facts and awareness surrounding the influenza vaccine. In the end, a successful intervention will result in drastically lower influenza cases in Hartford, Connecticut. Here's some references for you. And again, thank you very much for your time. My name is Mac Robinson. There's my contact info if you have any questions. Thank you.